Hey everyone, Veronica here from @VeronicaLetters, and today I'm going to show you how I film my Instagram videos. I get this question a lot, and I'm really excited to show you how I edit and how I capture everything and what stands I use. Now, this is not how I do my YouTube videos. I'm still figuring that whole process out, so this is just strictly what I do for Instagram and how I get all my videos edited and cut for that 1 minute mark. If you like this video, remember to like and subscribe. I really appreciate your support, and with that, let's get started!
So, first things first, what do I use to record with? I always use my cell phone, whichever is the latest iPhone typically. Right now I'm using an iPhone XS. I'm sure that will change soon now that the iPhone 11's got announced. So, it's always a phone. I don't have a professional camera. I don't use one. I do want one eventually, but of course my phone is the most convenient thing. So, here is my first setup. It's an octopus tripod, which I absolutely love because you can bend the legs and adjust it to the height and to any sort of, desk or any area that you're in. You can just completely move them. I typically use it on the edge of the desk like I do here, so I can get really close to the paper as I'm recording, which is super awesome. As you set up your shot, make sure it's in the center area, so that way you can crop it to that Instagram square. They do also have a landscape feature where you can't upload videos landscape, but I don't like to do it as much. It doesn't take up as much real estate top to bottom, so as you're scrolling, a landscape video will kind of get passed over a little faster. At least just from my experience, that's not any official anything, but that's just how I set mine up. One thing I love about this octopus arm tripod is that it has this ball head, so you can move it and swivel the phone front and back and, all kinds of manner depending on what you're recording, which is really great. Also, you can swivel it left to right. So really you have all manner of motion with this one really small compact arm. It's fantastic because it doesn't really get in the way while you're recording. So this phone holder is one that I took from an old tripod that I had, and most tripods have a standard size screw that all kinds of attachment will fit onto. So they did not come together. This and this were sold separately, and I will show you and give you some links to some that were separate, and I can see if I can find some for you guys that are sold together, because most mini tripods that sit on a desk now will be sold with a cell phone holder because most people expect to use it with a cell phone. My second setup involves something else completely different because I want to get closer to the paper and I need to zoom in essentially on what I'm doing. So this Faith, Love, and Pixie Dust is much bigger, so it required a setup that you can zoom out on. This lemonade piece that I did required something much smaller and something that I can really get up in there into the lettering so you can see what I'm doing. Now for this, I use a Walmart business card holder, which is really random, I know, but it gave me a perfect angle to lay my phone into so that I can record really closely, which is super awesome. Sorry guys, I say awesome a lot. I will try to stop that, but yes, it is awesome. Unfortunately, they don't sell it anymore, but I will try to find something similar for you. You really just need something small that can hold your phone at an angle. Now that I have my phone in it, you can see how it's nice and angled. And it's kind of tilted forward. But if you notice, there is some space above the lemonade, and it's not quite getting the lemonade as centered and as close as you would want. So I still need to further angle my phone a bit. So I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to do that using these coasters I had laying around. They're from IKEA. I didn't really use them much, and I liked how flat they were, and they work perfect to prop up the phone just like this. It's so nice because now you have a nice tilted angle that gets the entirety or as much as you can of your lettering and what you're doing in that frame. Also keeping in mind that it needs to stay in the center so again, you can create that little square on Instagram once you start to edit your videos. What I love about this angle, and this is how I always record, is that once again, you can kind of see what I'm doing. Instead of the directly above angle, that, actual angle from left to right allows me to put my hand in on the right-hand side. And so you can see what I'm doing on the screen. You can see what my brush is doing because of the fact that we have it angled kind of behind my hand, but not all the way above it. Another prop I like to use is this giant eraser, which I got a while ago, and I love it so much. It's so funny, and I don't really want to use it because I want to keep it intact. So I use it to help prop up my stand as well. This is a little bit taller, so it's going to angle it down a little further. And I like to use this a lot if I'm really, really doing a super close-up. And this is about the most angled I can get before the phone kind of tips over. and you don't want that to happen because there's no counterweight on the other side. So just be careful as you're trying so that way you don't lose your phone or it goes flying or a screen shatters, because that happens to me so often. But really, this is just to show you that you can just use things around your house. You don't have to have anything fancy or crazy. You can find stuff that works for you and that's also affordable. You don't need the most expensive thing out there. So let me quickly talk to you about the two modes I use when I record. You can do a standard video, which is, in real time. I try to only use that when I know I can get the work done within 60 seconds, which is the limit that Instagram has for you, or maybe as much as maybe 2 or 3 minutes. If I know the work will be done around in that area, if it's something very short and quick, I'll use the regular video mode, because then I can pop into my editing app and I can always speed it up a little bit or chop it up as well if I need to cut some things out, and I can get into that minute mark for Instagram. But like the Faith Trust and Pixie Dust piece, that took me about 15 minutes to complete, start to finish. And that's just for that draft. So if I took a regular video at 15 minutes, that would take up a humongous amount of space on my phone, on my computer. And when I tried to edit it, it would take forever to import, because that is just a lot of data for that phone to hold on to and then try to edit. So instead, I will do a time lapse. I love doing time lapses. And with a time lapse, it's going to record, because it's skipping frames essentially. It's going to record about 15 minutes worth of video in just less than a minute. It compresses it so well. So it's a lot faster for you to edit, and it's a lot easier on your phone and on your phone storage, because I'm sure we're all struggling with that phone storage. All right, so now let's talk about what app I use. I use Adobe Premier Rush on my phone. I only edit on my phone because it's the most efficient. I don't have a lot of time when I do these posts, so I need to get done super quick and easy. I used to use iMovie in conjunction with it before Adobe Premiere allowed you to edit the speed, because before they wouldn't let you speed up or slow down anything. They didn't have that feature, but they recently added it, so I don't really touch iMovie first. But for anyone who can't or doesn't have access to Adobe Premiere, you should check out iMovie if you're on iPhone. If you're not on iPhone, I'm so sorry. I don't know anything about Androids or anything or what apps you have, but hopefully this can be something that you can try out either in a free trial or in the free version, which I believe you can use, and it's just kind of, you have limited features. All right, so now we're in our projects page, which is the first thing that opens up, and we're going to start a new project. You're going to hit Add Media, because I don't take it directly from within the app. I'm going to go to my camera roll, and then I'm going to look for my videos. And I'm going to kind of choose one that's a little short and quick and to the point, so that way we're not editing for too long. So let's see. As you can tell, I take a lot of photos and videos on my phone, so I have a lot of taken up space. So I'm going to choose this G. I'm going to choose the video first and the photo second, because I always like to have a photo after the video so you can kind of look at it a little longer. So I'll choose that first and then that second. And if for any reason you choose it in the wrong order, no big deal. You can always reshuffle it once you're editing it on your timeline. Now, it takes quite a bit to import, and I think it also had to deal with the fact that I was recording the screen, kind of made it a little slower. But this is why I tell you, if you're going to have a really long video, make sure to do it in a time-lapse function instead of the regular, because it will take forever to import into any editing app on your phone. All right, now I'm speeding up the process for the video so that way you're not staring at it for too long. And now we're going to be inside of our sequence. And so we have our timeline at the bottom there, and that's what's orange and that's highlighted. And you can scrub from left to right to go to and from the video just by moving your finger across and dragging it along the screen. So that will kind of take you to the video, and you can kind of scrub through it and see it as you go through. Now, the first thing I want to do is adjust the color. Before I start chopping it up or cutting or doing anything, I want to adjust the color just so I get it all even on all the videos. So in case I say I need to cut it in half or something, if you want to zoom in or zoom out in certain parts and others, then all the color is already done. So in order to do that, you're going to go ahead and tap on the color button on the bottom. And if you swipe through on the bottom menu, you will find that color function. Now in the color menu, you have preset filters, but when you're trying to record lettering, it doesn't really look good. They're too dramatic. So I like to automatically adjust. And right now I'm adjusting my highlights, my shadows, my vibrance. Those are the ones I tend to go to. Each video will be different depending on how the lighting was shot, what paper was used, all that stuff. And the easiest way to learn it is to just play with it every time. And I like to adjust a little bit of the exposure to make it brighter, but you have to be careful with the exposure because it can completely wash something out. So again, it's all trial and error depending on what video, and no two videos are going to be exactly the same. It all depends on what lighting came in that day, what paper you're using, what marker you're using, and how it's going to get picked up. All right, and now that I've adjusted my color, I notice I need to adjust my canvas. I want it to be a square. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that bottom menu and select square, because you can also do landscape or portrait, which is really cool. So you do a portrait if you wanted to do an Instagram story, landscape if you wanted it like up on YouTube, or if you even wanted it for Instagram as well. I just don't do them as often. And then square is what I always go for. And as you can see, it adjusted the size of it to fit inside the square, but it's still not perfect. I want to go ahead and adjust the rotation, and I want to zoom in on it. So I'm going to go to the rotating button, kind of rotate it to the area that I want to first. And then I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to get rid of those black triangles in the corners. And that way I can, really get close in there so you can see the letter I'm doing. And then you're going to move it vertically and horizontally so I can get that G centered now that I have the exact zoomed in area that I wanted. Now let's take a look at the whole video clip as a whole. So as I start, I notice, there's some audio playing. I tend to not like using audio on Instagram because copyrighted music is of course not allowed, and to me it's too much of a hassle, so I don't do it. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my whole clip so that way you can't hear any of the sound while I'm recording or when I export. That also makes the file size a lot smaller, and it's a lot faster to export and render because there's no audio coming through. So you're going to go ahead and go out of that transform menu, and then you're going to go to the audio menu, and you'll hit mute clip, and that just completely silences it altogether. And now another thing I noticed was that my clip started with me kind of twiddling my pen, even for just a minuscule of a second. And I like to start my video with just the pen itself. So as soon as I want to start, I don't want to see my pen touching the paper. As soon as I start doing the stroke, that's how I want to start my video. So if you pinch and expand your fingers, you can expand the clip so that way you can see it in more detailed view, and you can kind of scrub through it a lot faster, a lot slower. So that's what I'm doing. I'm scrubbing all the way until just before I start my stroke, and I stop there and then hit the cut or the scissors button to cut that little piece off, and then hit the trash can to delete it. That way, as soon as I start, you see my pen's already hit the paper. Because on Instagram, attention spans are short, and so if someone doesn't see what's going to happen instantly, most of the time they'll keep scrolling. So I like to start my video literally the moment my pen hits the paper without any hesitation before, because it's a habit that everyone does, is right before they start something, they kind of hesitate and then start. So now that I'm satisfied with my video clip, I want to go ahead and edit my picture at the end to match. So you see it's very dark, just like the other video started, which is totally fine. Since we use natural light, we can go ahead and adjust that. And if you press and hold on the end on those thicker bars, you can make it last for longer or for shorter. I'm going to leave it out a little longer, so I'm going to leave it expanded. And now I'm going to go back into my color menu so I can go ahead and adjust those colors. And once again, I start with highlights, I edit the shadows, and then I go ahead and adjust the vibrance and exposure as well. And usually on the photos, I can do a little more exposure so it's a little really nice and bright, because my hand's not there, so it doesn't look really weird to adjust my hand super bright like it would be in the video. So I'm super happy with that. And the only thing I have left is a watermark. On Instagram, unfortunately, many people will steal your work and try to repost it as theirs, or they refuse to give you credit. So I try to stop that a little bit by adding my watermark that hopefully they won't remove, so people can at least see the original source of that video. Now, on Adobe Premiere in this app, I use my logo that I've imported from my Creative Cloud library, because when you have an account with Adobe and you have your monthly subscription or yearly and you use all the regular products, you get free cloud storage. And that cloud storage is accessible from your phone, your laptop, everywhere. So that's what I love. I have it basically saved on my cloud files on their servers, and I can access it through the app. But if you don't have that, that's totally fine. Or if you don't know how to do that, you can easily add a title instead, which is basically text. You can make it your own watermark using their typefaces, which is really awesome. So if you go down and you hit the plus button, you can add a title. And we're just going to select this one because it's kind of in the bottom right corner, which is where I tend to like to put it, but you can put it anywhere you want. And you can just go in, tap one of the areas and start typing. So I'm going to write Veronica Letters for my handle, because that's always the best thing to do, is put your Instagram handle. So if someone sees it and it's on a page that's not yours, they can go back to your page and find you and follow you, like your original post and all that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and delete the bottom one because I don't need that. And what's great is that you can customize what typeface, what size, what color, all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to do that today because I use my own, but I just wanted to show you that this feature was there. And you could even save it as a template so you can access it every single time and not have to remake it every time you do a video. So now that's a little high up, so let's go ahead and move it. And let's go ahead and adjust the size. Make sure it's selected, and you're going to go ahead and then go into your transform menu again and adjust the sizing, adjust the horizontal position, and adjust the vertical position. Now you want to make sure that that watermark will be shown throughout the entirety of the video, and if you can see when you place it down, it only does a short amount of time. So if you hold down on that orange bar on the right and then drag over to the right, you can drag it all the way to the end of the clip, so that way it will show up for the entirety of the time and not just disappear after a few seconds. Now that I've shown you how to do your own title for a word mark in case you can't do a logo, I'm going to go ahead and delete this one because I don't use the title since I do have my own logo saved. So just go ahead and hit that trash can to get rid of it, and we'll go back into the main menu so I can go ahead and show you how you can import one from Creative Cloud, which is what I do. So you're going to hit that plus sign, hit media because it's another media thing, but now I'm going to go into my Creative Cloud folder instead of my camera roll because I have it saved on the cloud. But if you wanted to, you can also save it on your camera roll and put it in every time from your camera roll. It'll just take you a while to look for it because as you add more photos to your camera roll, your older ones get pushed kind of back up. But you can always create like an album specific to your logo. And that way you can save it from there in case you don't have the Creative Cloud. So I'm going into Creative Cloud. I'm going into my Instagram folder because that's how I've saved it. And then within my Instagram folder, I'm going to swipe up and I'm going to go ahead and check for my Instagram video watermark. I believe that's what I called it, which I always know where it is. And then I'm going to hit add. Now, when it imports it into the video, it always imports it in the same timeline as the rest of the stuff that's on there, of course. So when you import anything that isn't a title, it's essentially going to add it into your main track, which is where our video and photo are sitting right now. We want to move it into another track so that way you can see it at the same time as the video and photo and not just in between the video and photo. So in order to do that, and the easiest way to do that and visualize it is to pull up all your tracks. So right now they're hidden. You hit that timeline button to show all of them. Anything below is going to be your audio tracks. Anything above are your visual tracks. And the more tracks you have, that means the more layering you can do with all kinds of things. So we only need 2 layers right now, which is the video layer and then the watermark layer. So we're going to drag that watermark up and then expand it to the left and to the right by holding down those orange bars. So that way it will show up for the duration of the video and it won't disappear. After we've done that, we're going to go ahead and resize it because of course it pretty much sizes itself to the size of the canvas or the size of the video at the moment. So you're going to go into your transform menu, then you're going to adjust the size. I know the size I like is an 8 for my watermark because I've done it so many times. And then I'm going to adjust the horizontal and the vertical position so I have it down in the bottom right just like I like it, but you guys can put it in any section that you want on your video. Now let's take a look at our video. Make sure everything looks good. So I'm just hitting play up top just to make sure everything's flowing smoothly before I export. All right, everything looks great so far. I like the lighting. I have my word mark. I like the cuts I've made. I like the duration of it. Make sure it's under a minute, which of course this one is, but when you have longer videos, you always want to make sure you're not going over that minute mark because Instagram won't let you. So you hit that share export button up top. And for these quality settings, I always leave it at automatic because I never really want to downgrade the video and I never want to try to make it a higher quality video because Instagram won't let you upload those anyways. So we're going to go ahead and just leave that at automatic, but if you want to play with those settings, feel free. And then you click export. Now, the most important thing about this rendering screen is that you do not lock your device, you don't try to go to the home menu, you don't do anything else on your phone, because the moment you go away from the screen, the rendering stops, and when you come back, it doesn't just pick up from where it last left off, it starts all over again. And for longer videos, it can get very tedious, so just make sure when you're rendering, just leave your phone open and don't touch it. Okay, now that we're done, you can hit done. I don't like to mess with any of the social media ones. The way that it tries to export into Instagram, it doesn't really allow you any of the options and the same options, so I don't like to do it. I like to just go into the app and do it myself because it already exported into my camera roll. So we'll X out of there. We can go back home and you'll see that your project is saved in case you ever want to get back to it. Or you can delete them. I usually delete them as soon as I upload it so I don't have a bunch of videos being stored up on that app because it does take up space on your phone. So, and if you look down at the bottom of your camera roll, you'll see the video you just exported, which is awesome. You can view it, kind of make sure everything exported properly, and then we'll go into Instagram and we'll go ahead and upload our video. So, now that you're in Instagram, make sure that you select your cover because that is going to be the first image anyone sees on your feed and on their feed. So if they come to your page, all those covers are what they see first on those tiles. And when it's on your feed, that first second that flashes through is going to be whatever you chose to be your cover. So you never want it to be, nothing. Like the beginning here is just my hand on the paper because it doesn't really interest anyone and it won't intrigue anyone to watch your video. So always select that cover. Once you've selected that, just hit next so you can go over to the next page, add your description, your hashtags, and posts. So that's everything I use to edit and film my Instagram videos. Links to everything will be in the description below, and if I can't find the exact item, once again, I'll try to find something similar. If I missed anything, let me know and I'll do my best to respond to you guys as soon as possible.
All right, you guys, so we're all done. I really hope that helped you. And again, this is only a few suggestions of things that have worked for me. This is not necessarily going to work for you, but hopefully you can try some of these things and you can get your Instagram videos filmed the way that you want to. If you have any suggestions for things I could try out, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always up for trying new things and new stands and all that stuff. Please remember to like and subscribe so I can share more stuff with you in the future. And as always, happy lettering. Thank you for watching.